Raphael Jacob from 4502 Cleveland. I just have a question in reference to the red light enforcement in this, whoever is in charge here. Is that really benefiting city of Tamarac a lot enough to really inconvenience that it does? Is it really preventing a lot of accidents by having the red lights?
Who are you referring your question to, sir?
Who's in charge of that?
The gentleman behind
Who up
you.
here are you requesting?
Sorry.
At the tent.
Mayor wants?
All right, who are you?
Aren't they enforcing what the mayor wants?
Who up here of the four candidates you want to?
No, who's in charge? The mayor? All of them? All of them? All of them? Okay, if you all have a word to say about that, that's what I'm talking about.
I think I understand your question.
Thank you.
Don't stop the clock until I'm ready to speak. Reset that. Okay, red light cameras. Okay, first let me start with the present, which is reality, and then we can backtrack it in terms of what the city's intention was. There was a recent, I'm not a lawyer, but there was a recent ruling in a case that we don't think applies to Tamarac, in which the judge says the city didn't have the right to do it because of the way they were doing it. I won't get into the weeds with you on that because it's not necessary to do it. The city of Tamarac still is issuing red light speeding tickets because we have a BSO person who makes a final decision and actually issues it. We're watching the litigation very closely, and whatever the courts decide, that's the way that we go. As far as our motivation in doing it, we said that if we could save one life or keep one person out of a wheelchair by stopping them from running through a red light, that would be a good thing. The only thing we asked our staff is that the program be revenue neutral, meaning that we don't want to lose any money doing it. In the past year, from what BSO has told me, I think this is accurate, that they have issued 8,200 red light speeding tickets through this program. If you look at the cost of that, given the red light system, versus hiring more BSO folks to do that for us, it's incredibly cheaper. We think it preserves life and limb, and that's why we continue it. I'll yield my time to Mike if he wants to go.
1 minute.
I'm against the red light cameras. There's been plenty of studies that show that it does not prevent accidents, it does not prevent speeding. I've been in situations driving myself where I see the yellow light and I'm not sure if I should slam on the brakes or go ahead because I'm worried about a ticket. And I think that split second it takes for you to think can cause an accident. And I've seen other people nearly cause, and there have been studies where there have been an increase in rear end accidents. So there's a lot of independent study. At the time that the city of Tamarac took on the contract, the Republican legislature in the state of Florida was thinking about a law to get rid of them altogether. So the only beneficiary of the red light cameras is the independent contractor. I think the one we use is American Traffic Signals. We don't benefit.
Well, I have something to say about this. On red light cameras.
No, Joe, this is not you. You're the moderator.
I just want to bring out a point. That's no problem.
Another question was asked as a general to the whole board here. I'll basically say this. I've had issue with the red light camera myself. When putting it in, I was in Arizona at the time that it was starting to be discussed in the city. And I went to ATS because I wanted to know more. And that's the American Transit that you were talking about. And I saw how the process works. And I saw how they stop, I saw how they looked into it. And then I saw how it goes to an independent second set of eyes. Our city, when the contract came before it for us to look at it, it is made sure that we have another set of eyes. So we have basically 3 sets of eyes on this. It is not like the rest of the neighboring counties. our contract is specific to be neutral, to not be penalizing, but to give our sheriff office more eyes to help with the speeders. And I don't have the numbers recently, but for the first 6 months of it, it was about 5,300 tickets that were given out. 6 people out of all those people rebutted them and started to fight them, and nobody won the rebuttal. So that means that it's being run and the program is effective, okay? And it may not be our Tamarac residents getting hit. It may be people who are just driving through and thinking that they can cut through Vanguard Village on 70th. They can think they can run through on University. People that use our roads as throughways. And I too am scared of it because I almost was a hood ornament because I decided to make sure that I stopped. But it is something that, according to our sheriffs at the time it was in place, that he said it would be very helpful for our community, and that is why the commission went forward with it. At this time, it is being reviewed. We are looking at the law, and as the law, if it goes forward, if the law says we go forward, we have an ability to get out of the contract if it is not good for our city. So we are revenue neutral.
I don't know if you saw this on Sentinel today, but there are a number of counties up north that are looking at class action suits against red light cameras. And if you're aware, both Broward and Dade are looking in the direction of the removal of red light cameras. That's one aspect that has to be looked at very carefully to see that it's something that we need to be looking at, one. The other thing is, as a former contracts and grants administrator, we have to look very carefully at the contract that currently exists. If this is a decision that the commission wants to remove red light cameras, then we have to look at how we get out of that contract. I am extremely concerned. I'm extremely concerned, though, about the fairness and the objectivity of some of the decisions that have been rendered as to the use of red light cameras. And one of my main concerns is the one right across from the hospital north commercial, about that one.
Thank you. Okay, we had a question.
Basically, the program itself is to fund itself.
Yes.
So basically, if the ticket's $158, that money is to go to spend to take care of that program. So no additional monies are coming out of the budget in order to fund it. That's what revenue neutral is means.
I mentioned earlier that I was involved in economic development program that from contracting, RFPing, all the way to implementation, that brought in 4,000 jobs per day. I'm familiar with that. I'm familiar with the process, I'm familiar with the RFPing, the marketing, and all that good stuff. At the same time, as far as District 2 and Tamarac in general is concerned, I continue to be concerned about the amount of empty space. I continue about the level of inactivity out in the commercial area out west. Yes, there's absolutely a need for a symbiotic relationship between the public sector and the private sector. I do not feel that the commissioners and staff are making enough of an effort to go out to reach out to particular communities. I have been doing that specific thing, traveling to the Far East and all that good stuff for maybe about 20, 25 years. I want to bring that experience. Also, it'll make life easier when you increase the revenues in that aspect. It'll decrease the revenues in the other areas. So we don't have to look, as we need to move expenses along, so that we don't have to look to the residents and so on for that. I helped to set up chambers of commerce in 3 different countries. In 3 different countries, in Canada, in Ottawa, in Lauderdale Lakes, and in the Caribbean. So I know about small business. I have a small business. So I know about the concerns, and I know what the public sector and the commissioners can do. And one of the things is incentives. The city is not being aggressive enough to getting and giving incentives for the private sector. And that's a brilliant question, Marian.
Okay.
The question basically is, what are we doing? And I would like to disagree with my opponent, and I'm sorry, but we are doing something. We put in a great plan. We have a wonderful economic development coordinator. Her name is Anna Zania. She's reaching out to the city on our behalf, and we have some wonderful things going on. We've put in, and this was the same thing I mentioned earlier about last April, we have a facade program that we're working on, which will help some of the businesses. As you look around, if you go to University and Commercial, Denny's Shopping Plaza, if you look at it, it's looking great. We're working with our businesses and trying to revitalize those places. We're working with them to try to have more Tamarac residents and give them incentives in order to have them hire Tamarac residents. We have this incubator program where we are working on trying to figure out which development is the best ones to go into the shopping plazas and what is needed in our community. These things take time. A lot of things have been worked on in the past several years that you will start to see come through fruition over the next several years, which is what happens as you go through, and that's why we have 4-year terms. It's you get experience as you go on. And sometimes a clean house is not the best house to have because you have nobody in the house with any experience. So we're using this experience to develop. We have a great plan for University and Commercial, McNabb and Commercial. We're trying to do something like a hospital district, so where we revitalize that area with some housing, another multi-purpose area for there being food, there being some businesses where we have people who are looking, who are working at the hospital can come and live. Their places can stay, and people can stay when they come to visit, they can eat. We have something going on where we're looking at corridor 441 in Commercial. We also have Tamarac Village, which, believe it or not, is underway. We have RFPs and programs out for that. I have only 16 seconds left, but there are plans for business, and we are working very hard, and I am very excited. I'm a small business owner. I've been active with the Chamber for years, and continue to work with Peter at the Chamber and the rest of the Chamber members. So, very excited about everything that's to come in our city.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like an opportunity for a rebuttal.
So the vision statement would be, to make Tamarac a place to work, live, play, and retire, because we can't forget our retirees. So I'm a member of the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, which is Broward County's Business Development Board. Their job is to retain the big companies, or all companies that are in Broward County, and attract companies to Broward County. So I've been a member for 4 or 5 years. The city of Tamarac is a member, and I know and knew the prior economic development manager, a guy named Andy Burns. Anna Zania used to work for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. So I think the problem is Tamarac has not been aggressive enough in building relationships with the Alliance to get companies to move into the city of Tamarac. Tamarac has a great location. We're right by the Turnpike, I-95, and 869. So you can get anywhere from Tamarac. That's one of the reasons why my wife and I decided to move here. But every month or every quarter I get emails showing new jobs going to Miramar, new jobs going to Sunrise, new jobs going to other cities. We've gotten one, I think, a pharmaceutical company that moved into the city of Tamarac. So I think we need to have someone like myself who's already active in the business community to talk about the value of moving into Tamarac and attract more businesses to Tamarac. That's what I pledge to do. Thanks.
Well, economic development is something that I have a passing familiarity with. You may not know that I'm the founding chairman emeritus of the Coral Springs Economic Development Foundation, and that was back when Coral Springs had 30,000 folks living in it. Me and the city manager put $1 billion of commercial and industrial property on the tax roll. I've been involved with the Alliance in one way or another for probably 20 years. And Anna Zania, who was our economic development person, who's targeted to manage this area for us as a part of a larger strategy, actually worked for them for 5 years. Mike is correct when he says that we just brought in a company from Venezuela. They made about a $50 million investment. They're pharmaceutical, but we also have, one of the larger employers in the city, City Furniture, is just started a major expansion of their project. That's in addition to the 1 million square feet that they already have. That's Keith Koenig and his family. They're just really great people to work with. Yeah, City Furniture is on the Sawgrass. It's huge, huge business. In terms of the city's vision, I always associate vision with long-term strategic planning, and the city has been trying to vision and put plans in place. We've initiated a variety of studies, and it is something which is not the easiest thing on earth to actually accomplish. Speaking of Coral Springs, Coral Springs is trying to put together their town center for over 20 years. I know this because I was involved originally with it, and they're still nowhere near getting it done. But I think all of us can agree that economic development is something that we need to focus on. We think that we've done a pretty good job on it. We're partnering with people in the community, especially on the small business side.